Monday, March 17th, a terrorist bomb rocks Midtown Manhattan, the boomerang reaction to President Carter's anti-inflation plan. And it's St. Patrick's Day. We'll have highlights from around the world.
Also tonight, a courageous hostage jumps to freedom in Bogota. The latest angle in the Scarsdale Diet murder, a strange mix-up in a Philadelphia operating room, and the world's worst film festival.
In action sports, highlights of Louisville and Iowa en route to the Final Four.
And the luck of the Irish held the rain in check today, but it will rain for the rest of the night.
This is the Emmy Award winner, the 7:30 Action News, voted New York's outstanding news program with Pat Harper, Steve BOSCH, Jerry GIRARD, Roberto TIRADO, and the Action News team.
Good evening. A powerful bomb rocked a 58-story office building on Fifth Avenue, sending spears of glass crashing to the ground. That blast happened as people began assembling to catch a glimpse of the St. Patrick's Day parade. Christy Farah now reports this was another in a series of terrorist bombings apparently unleashed by Croatian nationals.
Last December, Croatian nationalists claimed responsibility for blowing a Yugoslavian travel agency to bits. They left a note saying if there wasn't more publicity on their demands, there would be more violence. They apparently kept their promise, claiming this bombing of a Yugoslavian branch bank office on the 30th floor of a busy, crowded office building. Hans Engel was working in an office just 20 feet from the blast.
All the ceilings came down, the walls all caved in. It's all wide open now. The windows all blew out, you know. It was a tremendous bomb.
It was like a sonic boom. The floor was shaking, the walls were shaking. It didn't sound like a window. The whole building was shaking.
As about a half a dozen windows shattered 30 stories below on 42nd Street, people were positioning themselves for the St. Patrick's Day parade. Luckily, with all the glass that came down, no one was injured.
Although one woman, 7 months pregnant, did have to be treated for shock. Hundreds of other workers poured out of the building as it closed for an hour while the bomb squad searched for other devices that may have been left behind. Police say the bomb was placed in the stairwell just beside the bank's entrance and was a high-order explosive.
If anybody was standing near it when it exploded, they probably would have been seriously injured.
Later today, the FBI released a letter that it translated and sent to all news organizations. In the letter, the Croatian separatists claimed a responsibility for the blast, and they also made demands, one including that the United States stop all financial aid to Yugoslavia. Another demand was that all contents of this letter be released by tonight, or else 2 other bombs would go off in New York City. In Manhattan, Christy Farah, Channel 11 Action News.
Today was the first business day after President Carter's announcement of his new anti-inflation plan. Among the hardest hit if the program is approved are the nation's cities. They stand to lose millions in federal revenue sharing monies. Today, Mr. Carter defended his anti-inflation measures before a gathering of mayors in Washington.
What I've advocated is strong medicine. It's bitter medicine. It will mean our first real belt tightening since World War II, when we were fighting together against fascism. We're fighting today against an invisible enemy, but it is a very dangerous enemy, and we are in for a long fight. There are no magic solutions, and anyone who tells you differently is either wrong or dishonest.
But there's still a chance of a federal tax cut. Mr. Carter says he'll make that decision once it's certain the 1981 budget will be balanced.
And Pat, while the president was touting his economic policies, a key senator on Capitol Hill was on the attack. Senate Banking Committee Chairman William Proxmire called Mr. Carter's package timid, hesitant, and really inadequate. Proxmire says federal spending should be cut by about $30 billion to guarantee a balanced budget. Mr. Carter called for a $14 billion cut.
Wall Street reacted very badly to the president's anti-inflation battle plans. Bill Littauer has the sad details. Bill?
Pat, Wall Street apparently has given the Carter plan a dramatic vote of no confidence. Investors staged the worst selling rout in 5 months. At first, it appeared that Europeans and Middle Eastern investors were more impressed with the proposed budget cuts and tighter money policy. The dollar rose sharply on foreign money markets, and gold slumped sharply, down to $475 in London, and down even more to $469 in New York. But that's not the whole story. Analysts tell me they were selling gold and buying dollars largely because investors can now get such high rates of interest here. And that may be good for Europeans, but not so good for us.
It's going to be very hard to get consumer credit in the next 3 to 5 months. Very difficult to get a new line of credit. You may see some lines of consumer credit will be canceled. And you may see interest rates going up for consumers.
And if it's going to be tough for consumers to get credit, business faces the same problem. Stock prices slumped. The Dow Industrial's off more than 23 points, falling below the psychologically important 800 level to their lowest point since December 1978.
I think the market is telling us that the Carter measures don't promise any immediate relief. Things are not better on Monday than they were last Friday. Widely seen as a step in the right direction, but any good results that might come from it would be a long time in coming.
And for the immediate future, Wall Street sees a prime rate of about 20%, with inflation running at 18% or more for the next several months. Steve?
Still ahead of the news tonight, a hair-raising escape by a captive at the embassy in Colombia.
Clues to what caused that plane crash in Poland, and marchers step up smartly up Fifth Avenue and around the world for St. Patrick's Day. A string of gun battles between troops and leftists have left at least 41 people dead in El Salvador. There are also reports there may be many more casualties from those battles. Reporters were not allowed onto a university campus where troops fought with militants for hours early today. A daring escape and a medical trauma. The Uruguayan ambassador leaped to freedom from the besieged Dominican embassy in Colombia this morning, shouting, "Don't shoot, don't shoot." Fernando Gomez raced to the arms of the army while dodging a shot fired by a nervous soldier. Gomez suffered minor injuries. Hours later, the Venezuelan ambassador had what his captive said was a massive heart attack, but he's reportedly in good condition.
Iran's President Bani Sadr has announced a reorganization of his country's poorly disciplined armed forces. He is apparently trying to reassert his power, perhaps because his opponents seem to be leading in the parliamentary elections. The Iranian president says some of those results may be thrown out because of cheating, and this could delay the formation of the new parliament and in turn further delay the release of the American hostages now in their 135th day of captivity.
For the first time in more than 30 years, the State Department has given U.S. companies permission to sell some military equipment to China. Among the items that can be sold are the giant C-130 cargo jets. In Geneva, nations backing the U.S. boycott of the Moscow Olympics are meeting. The 10 countries represented are trying to work out the details of setting up alternate games. They say they want a competition that will allow high-caliber athletes to show off their talents.
It's a day of high spirits and high stepping, Irish style. The year's best parade day, St. Patrick's Day, saw marches throughout Ireland and in 80 cities across the United States. In Dublin, bands from around the world came to the island where St. Patrick is the patron saint. 750,000 people braved the cold and rain to celebrate in the capital of the Emerald Isle.
Parades and politicking seem to go hand in hand. Chicago's Irish-American Mayor Jane Byrne invited Ted Kennedy to the Windy City's parade, but not President Carter. Still, the president is favored to win tomorrow's primary in Illinois. And there's more bad news for Senator Kennedy. A new People magazine poll has the senator as the most untrustworthy politician, replacing Richard Nixon.
President Carter stayed in Washington, but he was represented at the world's largest St. Patrick's Day parade. Tim Malloy covered the famous march up Fifth Avenue where First Lady Rosalind Carter made an appearance.
There were nearly 100,000 marchers, nearly 500,000 spectators, politicians' wives, a mayor, a former mayor, activists and inactivists. Like all St. Patrick's Day parades, it was big and loud and crowded, but not a disappointment.
One of the advantages of being a member of the press is you get to walk in the parade, actually at the head of the parade, right down the green line to the reviewing stand.
The Democratic Party was well represented today. Mayor Koch, Rosalind Carter, and Daniel Patrick Moynihan marched up Fifth Avenue to meet Governor Carey at the reviewing stand. They sat together, but two in the fold are still keeping their political distance.
Senator, are you leaning one way or the other for a presidential candidate right now?
No. Governor and I have decided, look, we're going to have to get along with whomever it is that wins.
No endorsement coming from either man, one way or the other?
None that I can imagine.
With Ted Kennedy parading in Chicago, it was up to the family to cover the New York turf today.
Our momentum's up now after Puerto Rico last night. I think we'll do well in Illinois, but I think New York's the place where we're going to really turn it around.
Beyond the politics, it was a day to enjoy the best elements of a grand parade.
What are you seeing that you like?
Horses. The bagpipes. Mrs. Carter. The horses. The girls.
There were those who came to be gawked at.
Why? Why? Why not?
And those who didn't want to be seen at all.
Goodbye.
But for almost everyone, it was a day to proudly wear the green and listen to the marching bands.
You're not Irish, are you?
Yeah. Irish.
And now for a little bad news. There were dozens of arrests along the parade route today, but that's to be expected on St. Patrick's Day. The worst incident involved a bottle-throwing spree near the public library on 42nd Street. There were no reports of serious injuries, and on the whole, the police described the huge crowd as orderly. Pat.
Thank you, Tim. Coming up on Action News, a talk with the defense lawyer in the Scarsdale Diet Doctor murder case.
And we have a list of some of the worst movies ever made and the unusual eruption of a volcano in Iceland. Seconds before that plane crashed in Poland last Friday, the pilot realized the possibility of a safe landing was remote. He radioed that he had only a 1 in 100 chance of bringing that plane down safely. Investigators are piecing together the final moments before that crash that killed 87 people, including 22 members of a U.S. boxing team. Those investigators say the landing gear failed, and mechanics trying to fix it may have caused an engine to also fail.
Mrs. Jean Harris, accused of killing Scarsdale Diet Dr. Herman Tarnauer, underwent another round of psychiatric examinations today. Jeff Kamen has more on that story.
The love triangle murder case in which the headmistress of an exclusive Virginia girls' school is accused in the shooting death of the Scarsdale Diet doctor goes to the Westchester grand jury Friday. Today, the attorney for accused murderer Jean Harris was studying New York state and federal law protecting the attorney-client privilege. Lawyer Joel Martin Arno's research is pointed at blocking a prosecution subpoena demanding her last letter to the doctor, which was mailed just prior to the shooting but was never delivered. It is believed that the letter dramatically portrays her deeply troubled emotional state, which is the centerpiece of the defense strategy.
There was not and never would be any evidence of intent in this case, and I believe that's true.
Intent to kill the doctor?
Intent to kill or harm the doctor.
What about intent to kill herself?
Well, that is now out of the bag. I mean, it's perfectly clear, I think, that she had an intent to do away with herself.
And she wanted the doctor to be the instrument of that with the gun that she bought in Virginia?
I have no comment on that at all.
How long had she known there was another woman?
Years.
Well, what made it break?
A lot of other events. A great many things, Jeff, that will be brought out with time and over a long period of time at the trial.
One defense theory about the events which led to Dr. Tarnauer's death has Mrs. Harris drawing the gun from her handbag, pointing it at her own head, the doctor attempting to disarm her, the gun going off repeatedly during the struggle, killing the doctor. Her defense attorney is using 7 private detectives to gather information for the case. He has received many letters from her friends around the world volunteering to help pay what will undoubtedly be a very big legal bill. Steve?
Thank you, Jeff. In sports, the NCAA championships are down to 4 teams, and 3 were long shots.
Oh, what
Here's Jerry.
Steve, had you been in Vegas when this tournament began and placed a big bet on UCLA to be in the Final Four, you would be wealthy tonight, Steve. No more headlines, no more promos. Think of it. And UCLA is there, and what great basketball from them and everybody else over the weekend. LSU against Louisville was anybody's game until Darrell Griffith took over. He watched most of the first half because of fouls, but at the start of the second half, boom, an explosion. First, Griffith hits a jump shot from the circle. Then he hits another one with 2 guys on him, pumping in the air. Then he gets a big rebound here, pitches it out quickly for a fast break to Smith. Louisville began to tear it open. Then he hangs underneath with a twisting layup for 2 more, and then finishes the whole act with a fine pass to Berkman underneath. What a ball player. Meanwhile, for Iowa, the turning point came when they were 12 down in the second half. Eric Floyd was killing their zone with jumpers, so they went back to man-to-man, and the coach told Ronnie Lester to start attacking, and that's when they turned it around. Lester hits a jump shot here with a soft touch. Then he penetrates toward the middle and dishes off to Hansen, the open man. He hits from the side, and then it became a shootout. With man-to-man, Boyle was able to have an interception here turned into 2 points. They're up by 2, but Duran comes back with a jumper. It's tied. Then Brookins comes back. They go up by 2. Then Georgetown ties it again with Duran's jump shot. And then another jump shot by Boyle. They're ahead by 2. Shelton scores. He ties it again. 13 seconds to go in the game. Boyle into the corner to Waite. Game tied. Game goes to Iowa. 3-point play. NIT semifinals at Madison Square Garden tonight. It's Minnesota against Illinois. Game already underway. 14-13 Illinois halfway through the first half. The second game, Nevada-Las Vegas against Virginia, will be taped and shown here on Channel 11 at 11:30 tonight. Exhibition baseball this afternoon. Expos beat the Mets 6-5. In Maine, the heavyweight championship of skiing has been decided, and here is the champ. This guy is John Truden, 482 pounds. Think of the momentum as he came down that hill in Maine. They found him in Massachusetts. Guy said he went right through a car wash. Meanwhile, at the Big A this afternoon, Daily Double, H&M, $157. Consolation HJ, $15.20 for those who can't afford it. Triple GFC, $271.60. Newsman won the feature at 9-2. That's it in sports. Here's Pat.
Thank you, Jerry. A massive volcanic eruption shook the frozen landscape of northern Iceland today, sending smoke and ash 4 miles into the sky. Authorities say no communities in the area are in danger. Pilots flying over the region reported seeing fountains of fire beneath the smoke and fiery lava flows cutting through canyons of deep snow. Here's tonight's business report prepared in cooperation with the editors of the Wall Street Journal. The Journal says if you have money in a money market fund, not to worry. Despite the Fed's action Friday, you're doing the right thing by leaving your money where it is. In fact, your old money is likely to fetch even more than the 13% it has in the past few months, thanks to rising interest rates in general. There are more women than ever before in medical school, but even so, the earnings lag between female and male physicians remains wide. Women doctors earn more than 40% less than their male colleagues. And why the big gap? Well, for one thing, women seem to prefer lower-paying specialties like pediatrics and psychiatry, rather than more lucrative fields such as surgery. And a poll shows women doctors typically see 40 fewer patients a week than do men. Get ready for the lousy film festival. 25 of the most badly written, directed, and acted movies ever made will be screened next month here in New York at a 6-day festival. You'll be able to see such grade B turkeys as The Attack of the Killer Tomatoes and The Terror of Tiny Town. That's a 1938 musical western with an old midget cast. Promoters say they'll have no trouble making money with all the old-time worst.
How did a double case of mistaken identity occur in the operating room of Philadelphia's Graduate Hospital? Hospital officials have appointed a board of inquiry to find out why 2 women underwent surgery intended for the other. We have this report from Malcolm Poindexter.
One of the women involved in the mix-up is Mrs. Virginia Edmondson, pictured second from right. She was to have had spine surgery. By mistake, part of one thyroid gland was removed. Mrs. Edmondson's husband, Alfred, told me that a doctor at Graduate Hospital admitted the mix-up right after the operation had been completed.
He walked me down the hall to a room out of the lobby, and he told me that they had made a mistake. All he said to me that it wouldn't be any problem, that everything would be well taken care, and it wouldn't be any charge so forth of the operation.
The back operation was reportedly performed on 58-year-old Mrs. Annie Robinson, who was in surgery with Mrs. Edmondson. Hospital officials have not yet confirmed the names of the patients involved or what is alleged to have taken place. Only the families have cooperated so far.
But I went and saw my mother the following day, and she said to me, she says, you know, they operated on me by error. I says, Mom, I don't believe that. She says, well, I was supposed to have a back operation. They operated on the throat.
Hospital authorities have promised a full-scale inquiry and a report to the press. Malcolm Poindexter, Channel 3, Eyewitness News.
Well, Roberto gave us an absolutely beautiful weekend, so we really can't complain too much about the little bit of rain we're going to have. Let's see what else is coming up. Roberto?
It was a great day for the parade here at St. Patty's Day. You know, back in 1956, there was 10 inches of snow out there in the street. We're going to go to some satellite photos, and we'll see that in Dublin, New Hampshire today, it was cloudy, and so was it in Dublin, Maryland, and Dublin, Pennsylvania. Partly cloudy and raining. Only in Dublin, California, was it partly sunny. Low-pressure system is giving us the rain that we're going to experience for the rest of the evening. But, my friends, when you get up tomorrow, the clouds will also disappear. High-pressure system in Texas is going to take over, and it's going to give us some stellar days with beautiful skies and very mild temperatures. Right now, it's 51 degrees. By the time you get up tomorrow, it'll be about 40. Humidity 80%. The barometer is falling at 2994. The winds, watch out. South-southeasterly at 23, gusting to 37 miles per hour. Here's our AccuWeather forecast. Rain heavy at times, 40 degrees when you get up. The rain ends, the afternoon sun comes by. Kind of windy, 52 degrees for Wednesday, sunny and 54. For Thursday, the first day of spring, it'll be sunny and 57 degrees. For Friday, partly sunny and 59 degrees. Some rain for tonight, but a lovely sun for the afternoon. Pat.
Thank you, Roberto. We wouldn't want to close our broadcast tonight without a word of explanation. You may have noticed that none of us are wearing the green. And it's not because we don't want to join in the St. Patrick's Day celebrations. Actually, it's a technical problem in television. We use the color green as a background to superimpose graphics and other visual effects. Everything green on the set is displaced by the graphic. So that if I were wearing green, I would simply disappear, just like this green shamrock. But in honor of St. Patrick's, since we can't wear green, we brought in a leprechaun to sit with us. But since he's all green, of course, you can't see him.
That's our report tonight. I'm Steve Bosch.
A little bit of Blarney. I'm Pat Harper. Bill Jorgensen and I will be back tonight at 10:30 right after the movie with the next edition of Action News. Until then, have a really nice evening.